Baker Mayfield. He reminds me of a shorter version of Brett Favre. He can throw it. He's very confident. He's not afraid whatsoever.
Another guy that isn't getting nearly as much attention as I believe he should be is Florida international receiver T.Y. Hilton. 6 returns over his career, combining kick and punt returns for touchdowns.
He has the mindset, and he has the intelligence, and he understands the offense to a T. Kirk's our quarterback. We could have done a deal right then and got it for long term and been a slam dunk.
Sam is a good football player. The problem is he's not a great football player, and we're bringing so much attention to a guy that, frankly, is a day 3 prospect.
And now, the Instinctive Scouting Podcast, featuring 2-time NFL General Manager Scot McCloughan and NFLDraftScout.com Senior Analyst Rob Rang.
Hi, and welcome to the Instinctive Scouting Podcast, starring 2-time NFL General Manager Scot McCloughan and myself, Rob Rang, Senior Analyst for NFLDraftScout.com. There was plenty of big news in the NFL and college football this week, Scott, so let's drop the formalities and just get cracking with the first quarter, which is all about today's NFL trade deadline. We saw former first-round picks Dante Fowler, Clinton-Dix, and Demaryius Thomas get traded, as well as a couple of well-known veterans like Tate and Ty Montgomery. So let's go through these deals one by one, Scott, starting with the defending Super Bowl champions, Philadelphia Eagles, getting Tate. I know that you know Tate well from your time in Seattle. Do you like this move for the Eagles?
Yes, I definitely do. For a 4th-round pick, thing is he's 30 years old. He's getting older. I understand that. But the guy takes care of himself, takes care of his body, and the guy's a good football player. And he can make plays like on 3rd down with his run after catch. That's very special. And, I think Philly did a smart thing by bringing a guy in that is a solid football player and solid character.
No, I agree with you 100%. This is my favorite of all of the moves that were made today, in that I just like Tate specifically in Philadelphia's offense. We saw the way that the run-pass option became such an exciting thing a year ago, and I don't know that there are very many more versatile players in the NFL than Tate. He looks like a running back. Of course, played running back a little bit in high school, and at Notre Dame, he was used as an outside receiver as well as an inside receiver, and I just like that versatility. You have in Philadelphia, you have a guy in Alshon Jeffrey who can go up and get the ball. You have another receiver and the former USC guy Nelson Aguilar, who's a little bit more of the streaker, the speed to be able to get over the top. But to me, the Eagles at the wide receiver position, at least, maybe not at running back, but at wide receiver, I thought they were lacking a little bit for a guy that can be kind of that security blanket for a still young quarterback in Carson Wentz. And to me, that's exactly what Tate does, is that he has that ability to make the catch, make people miss, and and he's so strong, so physical for a receiver who's shorter. I think it adds to their passing game. I think it adds to their physicality on the outside in terms of running the ball. And as you mentioned, it's a relatively cheap price, but that's the thing. 30-year-old Tate, who was owed some money and possibly is going to be looking for a big contract. I don't know that Philadelphia is going to be looking to bring him back. We'll see. But at the same time, for that price, for a team that's obviously just won a Super Bowl and is contending again this year despite a kind of a poor record, I really do like this move for Tate. What about from Detroit's perspective? Is you're getting an extra pick. Obviously, that's helpful. We know that Detroit is allocated a lot of money already to some of their other receivers. They just announced that they renegotiated a deal with Marvin Jones Jr., who has been the more productive player than Tate. And I know they like the young guy Kenny Golladay there in Detroit as well. But from the Lions' perspective, where do they go from here? Do you think?
Well, I really don't know because I'm not in the building. I'm not around the guys all the time.
Yeah.
I just know with Tate, you had a football player through and through.
Yeah.
And like I said already, a good guy. But it gets to a point where you're like, okay, are we going to be able to sign him to an extension after the season, give him a new deal or whatever? But Philly made out really, really good. Really good. They got a guy that can make plays. And the thing about it, I understand he can play outside. He's better in the slot. And what he can do is catch the ball and score touchdowns. And that's why he is who he is, and that's why he's had success.
Exactly. And I just look at the way that the Eagles' offense is set up and the fact that they have been struggling a little bit, especially in the offensive side of the ball this year. Then to me, it's one of those things where they had a need and they addressed it. And I'm a big fan of that. I like aggression, and I think that we're going to talk about some other teams here that made some aggressive moves that I don't know that they necessarily addressed some of their biggest concerns, but I thought that the Eagles did. And I was going to jump from there to go to another deal that I thought was an interesting one, and that is with Dante Fowler getting shipped from the Jacksonville Jaguars to the Los Angeles Rams. Now, this was a little bit spendier pick. This is for a third-round pick in 2019 as well as a 2020 fifth-round pick. And Dante Fowler, like Golden Tate, is going to be, entering his free agent years. And so it's going to be interesting to see if the Rams are making this move or basically just a rent-a-player. But again, we're talking about the LA Rams, who look like the real powerhouse in today's NFL. So I do like the move from that perspective, in that I look at the Rams and I see some dominant defensive linemen, obviously Aaron Donald and Brockers and Ndamukong Suh, but they've been lacking a little bit on that edge rusher role. They traded away Robert Quinn in the offseason. And as much as I like Samson Ebukam, one of my favorite sleepers from Eastern Washington, I have to give the Eagles a little bit of love. But at the same time, they were lacking a little bit as that edge rusher role, and Dante Fowler certainly gives them that. Is this a case of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer here with the Jaguars, who are struggling this year, giving up one of their better young defensive linemen in the hopes of getting some draft picks to maybe rebuild a little bit after what has been so far a little bit of a disappointing season?
It surprises me. I was a huge Fowler fan coming out, huge. I was in D.C. and brought him in, sat down with him. We talked for probably an hour and a half. And, the Tate proved itself. I understand he's the fourth pick overall. In his first year, he had the injury, which of course is bad luck.
Yeah.
But it is what it is. But he, it's the rich getting richer. I'm telling you, this guy can play football. I mean, there's a reason why he went where he went. There's a reason why he has the tape he has. And the thing about it, he's on a really good defense in Jacksonville, really good defense. And they haven't been playing well. I understand that. But it's still a really good defense. And he goes to the Rams, who, like you said, have a chance to be Super Bowl contenders, which is already proven out. But Fowler, he's a good get. There's no doubt. He's a very good get. For a third round, I would do it in a heartbeat if I was a general manager.
Yeah, exactly. To me, that it makes all the sense in the world. Just for the Rams. Now, I've heard some talk out there that maybe Fowler has not always been as consistent as you'd like in terms of not only his production, that's obvious, but maybe in terms of how seriously he takes the game or how committed that he is. But I don't know that to be true. I mean, when I watched him at Florida, I saw a very intense player. And I thought that you worded it well when you said that it's kind of bad luck, the fact that he had the injury when he came out of Florida. And I'm a big believer, Scott, in the idea that sometimes when a player gets drafted by kind of the local franchise, and obviously Jacksonville being pretty close to Gainesville, Florida, that's what I mean by the local franchise, that sometimes players get a little bit comfortable. And if you push them, if you move them somewhere else, they're traded in this case to the entire other side of the country, then to me it can be a little bit of a wake-up call to those players, and maybe that kind of kick in the pants that they need to be able to really put it all together. And so that's where I'm kind of intrigued by this trade for the Rams. To me, I see the Rams as obviously one of the best teams in the NFL. They've proven that out so far this season. And so I think that they do have kind of some money in the bank, so to speak, to be able to make these types of trades. There's always going to be so much time where you are really in position to dominate the NFC because of the salary cap. Obviously, Jared Goff has not gotten paid yet. And so therefore, this is the Rams' opportunity. And so now is the time to go for it. And so I applaud the Rams that they are actually going for it in this situation, as well as the Jaguars, getting 2 picks in trade for a player that you might not have been able to bring back, or at least to this point, because they did not bring up that 5th-year extension or the 5th-year option on this contract. Then we don't know if they did have interest in bringing him. To get 2 picks for him, I think is a savvy move by the Jaguars as well.
No, it is. It is. But the thing about it is you're well aware, you know, my style.
Yeah.
Is you draft, you mold how you want to be in your organization, you know, and you know them every single day. You see them every single day. You know, you see them in the meeting room. You see them in, you know, the locker room. And I think Fowler's can be a big-time hit for the Rams, big time, you know, but also, you know, for Jacksonville getting picks, that's great. You know, it's the same thing with Cleveland. That's great. You got picks. You hear boom. But you don't know. You know when you draft a guy and you're around him for 4 years, 3 years, whatever, you know what you have. You know the personality. You know the work ethic. You know, and then you make your own decisions going forward for the second contract. But I think Fowler's a really good player.
Well, I think that you mentioned the Browns, and you know it's been interesting to see the Browns this year because they did have all those picks, of course, and I think it's been fairly obvious that some of those picks are really starting to turn out for the Browns. But the same thing with the Raiders. I mean, we just saw the Raiders ship off a couple of their more well-known players than Khalil Mack and Amari Cooper, and while that sounds great on paper, you know, the Raiders are going to have to do what you helped the Browns do this past year and turn those draft picks into actual NFL players that are going to help your team. So, no, I agree. I think that anytime you trade away a proven player that you know is a legitimate NFL starter at the least and could wind up being a Pro Bowl caliber player, you know, if a few other things kind of go the way that they're supposed to, at least from the Rams' perspective, then yeah, that is definitely a gamble for the Jaguars. Well, we talked about the first couple of big moves. Let's go with another team a couple of teams actually that you're very familiar with, but especially the Washington Redskins, who I'm surprised they get Ha Clinton-Dix for just a 4th-round pick. From the Green Bay Packers, I thought was a surprising move. I think it was a good move for Washington, a team that, you know, a lot of people out there kind of sleeping on, but the Redskins, there they are in first place right now in the NFC East, very much a contender. And I thought that one of the areas that team that they really did need to address, if they could, at a reasonable cost, was free safety. And yet here they get Ha Clinton-Dix, a guy who has played every single game of his career, is a proven playmaker, and so a player who I think fits in well with what Washington is trying to do on that side of the field. You know, your thoughts on the Redskins move, and then we can kind of talk about what the loss of Clinton-Dix means for the Packers as well.
Well, the thing that's unique about it is the guy's still young. The guy is a good football player. Redskins got a starter. You know, I don't know how quick he fits in to the defense and the scheme and all that, understanding the knowledge of what's supposed to go on. But he's a good football player. And the thing, you know, he was, you know, of course, a high pick with the Packers and had good success with it. But, you know, it's unique. Why would a team give up a young guy when you're still in the playoff race? You know, so something had to be missing because the Son McCarthy style is not Gutekunst style whatsoever.
Yeah.
To give him a good football player. So I like I said again, I'm not in the building. I don't know what the verbiage was or why they did it. But he is a good football player. There's no doubt. He's a tough guy. You know, he's proven that he can be a Pro Bowler. He's proven that he's, you know, fast enough, quick enough, smart enough, instinctive enough to make plays. And, you know, it's a win for Washington, I guarantee it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the way I look at it for the Red